Hello and welcome to the World Report with me, Arjun Samar Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making global headlines this Friday. A major shooting incident has unfolded in Thailand. At least 6 people have died in a school shooting and at least 15 others are injured after a shooting took place in the outskirts of Thailand's capital, Bangkok, early this morning. Authorities rushed to the scene attempting to get the situation under control, where they were met with scenes of students and school staff alike running for safety. The suspected shooter is a 14-year-old male student studying in the 9th grade who has also reportedly been killed. According to witness accounts, the suspected shooter walked from room to room before shooting a teacher. The incident has shook the Depsarine school in the Nothaburi, and authorities have asked the public to stay away from the vicinity of the school. Meanwhile, police are currently investigating the motive, and authorities believe the firearm was taken from a family member. Well, let's now get to the latest coming in from the West Asia crisis. US President Donald Trump has expressed belief and optimism towards the Iran war ending pretty soon in his words.
We need more. Look, we gave tremendous amount to Ukraine. The Biden people did. And they were given free of charge, no charge. Billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And fortunately, I built up so much during my term. I rebuilt the military and also loaded it up with a lot of stuff. And we have certain types of munitions that are very powerful, that we have virtual unlimited supply. We have others where it's a little bit tighter, and we're getting them in on a daily basis. As you know, our defense companies are building more plants right now than at any point in history. They're building plants for the Patriots, for the Tomahawks, for everything.
Meanwhile, a deal between Iran and Oman to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is on the verge of being finalized after both countries agreed on the coordinates of the routes through the critical waterway. Now, dozens have been reported killed in Houthi missile and drone attacks on Yemen emergency forces camps as the movement announced expanded military operations. Israel, meanwhile, has continued airstrikes on southern Lebanon and raids across the occupied West Bank. Stay with the region where Iran's president has made a remarkable admission. He says it is now very difficult to communicate with the country's own supreme leader, Mojtaba Ali Khamenei. The statement has only deepened the mystery surrounding Mojtaba, who, by the way, has remained out of public sight for nearly 6 months, half a year now, since assuming Iran's highest office. And he was even missing from his father's funeral procession. So where is the man leading one of the West Asia's most powerful nations? Well, here's a report which delves into just that.
Six months into his tenure, Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, continues to remain out of public view. His prolonged absence has fueled speculation over Iran's leadership dynamics following the death of former supreme leader Ali Khamenei earlier this year. Now Iran's president Masoud Pezeshkian has publicly acknowledged the challenge. Pezeshkian said communication with the supreme leader is very difficult at the moment, but insisted that Mojtaba Khamenei's leadership remains a source of strength for the country.
و خب این کار بسیار وحشیانه‌ای که انجام گرفت. البته تصور نمی‌کردن این جامعه این کشور بتونه ادامه پیدا بکنه. ولی خب ادامه پیدا کرد. رهبر جدید عزیز ما دوباره انتخاب شد. امکان ارتباط با ایشون الان خیلی سخته. ولی به هر حال بودنش نقطه قوت بسیار بالایی است برای ما.
The secrecy surrounding Mojtaba Khamenei has also attracted international attention. According to reports published by The Times, US and Israeli intelligence agencies are trying to determine his whereabouts. The report says intelligence agencies believe Mojtaba Khamenei has adopted extraordinary security precautions and avoids digital communications, making him difficult to track. The uncertainty comes at a critical moment for West Asia. Iran is engaged in sensitive diplomatic and security discussions, including negotiations with Oman over Hormuz. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
US President Donald Trump is once again trying to limit the number of people who, by the way, can become American citizens based on birth. This comes after his first attempt at limiting birthright citizenship. It was rejected by the US Supreme Court. The president rallies now signed 2 executive actions on immigration. One to limit the number of people eligible for US citizenship after being born in the US, and another well to come what Trump calls birth tourism by increasing restrictions on visitors to the US who want to obtain visas to give birth while in the country. In June, the Supreme Court had rejected Trump's previous efforts to declare that children born to people in the US illegally or temporarily aren't American citizens, and upheld a broad conception of birthright citizenship. Now, despite this, many immigration advocates and legal observers, they felt the legal question of birthright citizenship was a long settled issue.
We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen.
According to local authorities, Russian strikes in eastern Ukraine have killed at least 6 people overnight. Rescue workers on Thursday, they worked to douse fires and clear debris in the eastern Kharkiv region after Russian strikes on homes killed 3. The victims included 2 women and a man reportedly. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he's condemned both Russia and Ukraine on Thursday over rising civilian casualties. He's called the escalating strikes in populated areas a violation of international law that must stop immediately. The rebuke follows the Russian missile attacks on Kyiv just a day earlier that killed at least 17 people, which is seen as a retaliation for Ukraine's strikes on e-commerce giant Wildberries.
The Secretary General strongly condemns the latest large-scale missile and drone attacks by the armed forces of the Russian Federation on Kiev and other cities in Ukraine that reportedly killed and injured dozens of civilians and led to extensive damage to civilian infrastructure. The Secretary General is deeply concerned by the continued escalation of the conflict, including onto the territory of the Russian Federation.
At least 2 people have been killed and more than a dozen wounded in an explosion in a passenger minibus in the outskirts of Syrian capital of Damascus on Thursday. According to the country's health ministry, the blast in the town of Jaramna has injured at least 14 people. The blast struck during the peak hour at the Al-Rawda Street, a crowded main thoroughfare in the center of Jaramna. According to security officials, an explosive device had been planted inside the vehicle, which was almost completely destroyed, though surrounding shops and a neighboring bus sustained only limited damage. Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Pakistan are likely to sign a joint defense agreement in Jeddah today. It's an attempt by the regional powers to strengthen security ties against the backdrop of a hostile West Asia. How will this impact New Delhi's ties with these nations, and more importantly, should we be on the lookout? All this and much more in this next report.
A new strategic triangle is beginning to crystallize in West Asia. Turkey brings advanced military technology and drone warfare expertise. Saudi Arabia brings a vast financial power and regional influence. And Pakistan brings a large, battle-tested military along with its nuclear capability. Together, the 3 nations have formalized a defense cooperation framework in Saudi Arabia, triggering debate over whether this could eventually evolve into a broader security alliance. Officials have not described it as a military bloc, but as the arrangement clearly signals deeper coordination in defense production, joint training, intelligence sharing, and expanded military exercises. For New Delhi, the most sensitive dimension is Pakistan's expanding footprint in this emerging agreement. Pakistan's military already maintains long-standing training and advisory ties with Gulf countries. Meanwhile, Turkey has emerged as one of the most important defense suppliers in recent years. If this partnership deepens into structured security architecture, Pakistan could potentially gain greater access to advanced military platforms and defense cooperation funding. This where New Delhi has carefully cultivated strong partnerships with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other Gulf nations. There is, at present, no formal collective defense clause, no integrated military command, and no binding treaty obligation resembling NATO. The term Islamic NATO remains, for now, a political shorthand rather than an operational reality. But what is undeniable is this: West Asia's security landscape is shifting. New alignments are emerging, and India will be watching every development very closely. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Over in Mexico, authorities have detained the former governor of the southern state of Guerrero for his alleged involvement in the disappearance of 43 students in a 2014 case. Federal prosecutors arrested Angel Aguera, Guerrero's former governor, on accusations of concealing evidence to determine the whereabouts of these missing students. The former governor is one of the highest profile arrests in the case to date since the detention of former federal attorney general Jesus Murillo Karam. Aguero governed Guerrero from 2011 until 2014 October, 1 month after the students disappeared. Now, the disappearance of the students have shocked Mexico and international communities alike and continues to fuel outrage in the country as the truth of the case continues to trickle out more than 10 years later, a decade later. The Fourth Continental Assembly of ALBA, or the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our Americas movements, opened in Havana on Thursday, bringing together roughly 400 organizations and delegates from over 25 countries. The event coincided with the centenary of Fidel Castro's birth and focused on anti-imperialist solidarity and response to capitalist and economic crises. The event is held under the slogan for Socialism 100 Years, Walking with Fidel. Delegates are meeting at the Martin Luther King Center in Havana till Sunday. The event comes as Cuba is facing a severe national crisis driven by crippling fuel shortages as a result of an oil blockade imposed by the US in January. This has led to blackouts, leaving millions of residents without power for up to 20 to 30 hours at a time. Hundreds of protesters clashed with police on Thursday as the Argentine Senate convened to debate a bill reform on land ownership. The ruling La Libertad Avanza party has removed the bill's most contentious provision, which proposed eliminating or raising the 15% cap on foreign rural land ownership. This comes after they failed to secure sufficient votes due to opposition from regional governors, lawmakers, and prominent public figures. The proposal also creates an expedited eviction process that allows landlords to initiate judicial removal if rent goes unpaid for 10 days. A World War II bomb was recovered in the Rhine River near Cologne on Thursday after low water levels exposed the unexploded ordnance before carrying out the recovery. Authorities ordered an evacuation within a 400-meter radius of the site, affecting about 360 people. The bomb was defused late on Thursday afternoon, that's yesterday. It was an American 5-Zenter bomb that in fact had been discovered near the city's Rhine Park area. The water level of the Rhine has once again dropped to a historic low of 67 centimeters. Over in the West, construction crews at the White House have taken apart the massive granite sail that was supposed to serve the new landing spot for the Marine One. This has signaled potential delays in the project. It is unclear why the sail has been removed. According to the White House, it's part of efforts to best match the needs of the buildings and its grounds. Moreover, the Arts of War and Arts of Peace statues, which were gifts from Italy about 75 years ago and had become corroded and discolored over the years, are also shining bright once again after renovation efforts. The first unveiling comes almost a month after celebrations of the country's 250th birthday on the 4th of July. The Hungarian government and the city of Budapest have turned off decorative lighting at Parliament, the Buda Castle, and other landmarks on Thursday. This comes as the country aims to reduce electricity consumption. According to officials, exterior illumination would remain off as long as it placed additional burden on the country's power grid. Soaring temperatures and prolonged drought in the country have forced the country's only nuclear power plant to reduce output to about 10% of normal production. Record low water levels in the Danube River have limited the water availability to cool the plant's reactors. Now, this has prompted the government to take various measures to protect energy and water, like the ones we just discussed. Extreme heat has showed no signs, absolutely zilch signs of letting up even at night in Rome. Average temperatures have remained around 30 degrees Celsius on Thursday as Italy faced its fourth heat wave of the season. Tourists drenched in sweat and armed with fans and refillable bottles, as you see right there. They lined up near water dispensers throughout the city centre. Italy's health ministry has placed all 27 cities monitored under its national heat surveillance systems on red alerts. This marks the very first time this year that the entire network has been under the highest warning level simultaneously. Slow-moving typhoon Dolphin has approached Japan's southern remote islands on Friday. This has caused the main airport in Okinawa to close and all flights in and out of the island to be grounded. This while sending hundreds of people to evacuation centers. The typhoon was near Yoron Island and headed towards West Okinawa's main island with maximum sustained winds of 144 kilometers an hour as of late Friday morning. As of midday, 240 people have taken shelter at evacuation centers across the prefecture. The Met Agency, meanwhile, has forecast strong winds, heavy rain and high waves in the Okinawa region through Sunday. It has also urged residents to stay indoors. A deadly wildfire in Spain's Almeria province burned more than 7,000 hectares of land and forced more than 1,500 people to evacuate their homes. Although the blaze is now extinguished, the area's wildlife may take years to recover, including an important population of wild tortoise. Multiple tortoise have been found buried deep under the sand after the wildfires raged through the region. As Europe experiences hotter summers and the increased likelihood of wildfires, concerns continue to rise about the future of the population of tortoises and other animals. Well, there's much more lined up on the other side. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Take it to the US, where a New Mexico state court has ordered Meta to pay $567 million into a teen mental health fund and change how its platforms function for young users on Thursday. This comes after the court established that the company is to blame for harming children's well-being. The company has been accused of designing products to addict young users and failing to protect children from sexual exploitation on the platform. The ruling comes 5 months after the New Mexico jury, in an earlier phase of the case, ordered Meta to pay $375 million after finding it violated consumer protection law by misrepresenting the safety of Facebook and Instagram for young users. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order on Thursday to impose a 15% tariff on imported products made from polysilicon. It's a crucial material used in semiconductors and solar panels. The order has set minimum import prices on polysilicon and related products. The move is intended to help protect US manufacturers as they face increasing competition from China's chip industry. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy in Washington, it said the move seriously disrupts trade between the two countries and Beijing will act to protect its companies. They have accused Washington of abusing state power to go after Chinese businesses, adding that protectionism, or protectionism in this case, will not make the US more competitive. No Frills airline EasyJet has agreed to be taken over in a massive $7.6 billion deal by US firm Apollo after a rival bidder dropped out. The takeover was agreed after US investment firm Castle Lake, which had made a series of offers for the carrier, said it was withdrawing from the bid battle. Apollo aims to help the airline grow and does not intend to cut any jobs in the first 12 months after the takeover. This has implied that passengers can expect largely the same service. EasyJet, for perspective, is one of Europe's largest airlines. It employs more than 19,000 people and flies around 1,200 routes, mind you, across 35 European countries. Olympic gymnast legend Simone Biles met with Peru President Keiko Fujimori and the country's government palace in Lima on Thursday. The meeting took place in the day before an official ceremony to mark the one-year countdown to the 2027 Pan Am Games and the 8th Pan American Games. Biles is the global ambassador for the 2027 Pan Am Games and was in the Peruvian capital, mind you, to mark the event's milestone. Wearing rainbow flags in sequence, dozens lined up in a pink church at Amsterdam's Pride Festival, well, to get married, or at least married for the day. The Married for a Day event is part of the annual event celebration of marriage, held a short walk away from where the world's first legalized same-sex union took place exactly 25 years ago. The Netherlands was the first country in the world to allow gay marriages, but the institution as a whole is in decline among the Dutch. The number of married adults has dropped nearly 10% since same-sex unions were permitted. This comes as more couples choose to live together without tying the knot. Deluge of 90,000 rubber ducks poured out of a truck and bobbed along a stretch of the skyscraper-like Chicago River on Thursday. This comes as the city came together to celebrate the annual Chicago Duck Derby that raises thousands of dollars for charity. The annual event, a fundraiser for Special Olympic Illinois, draws thousands of participants. Special Olympic Illinois organizes competitions across the state for people with disabilities and special needs. The competition has raised more than $480,000 to date. We leave you with these visuals, news and updates. They continue on the other side.
What if the duck got stuck in the truck? I actually have no idea. I can't